Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about a skin condition that I've been dealing with for the past year. About a year ago, I started getting rashes and bumps on my face, and I thought initially that it was warts. Then I thought it was fungal acne or fungal infection, but now I think probably the more accurate diagnosis is skin mites or Demodex mites. In this case, it would be a mite infestation. So to go back to the beginning of when this started, what has worked, what has not worked. A year ago, I started getting rashes and bumps on my face, specifically my forehead and the side of my face. And I thought they were warts, and I have experience dealing with warts. The best thing to do with warts, from what I was able to cure them, was to simply burn them off. I would get a heated paper clip. I would get a paper clip and fill it, heat it with a lighter or a heat source, and simply burn those things off. And that's what I did with the warts that were on my face, or appearing, what I thought were warts. But then they started coming back quickly and growing fast and at a rate that warts do not grow at. So I thought, well, it's something else then. But also I noticed that they were appearing near my hairline. So I figured that whatever it is, it's coming from my scalp. So I shaved my head, or I buzz cut my head. You can still see that I have a buzz cutter. I'm still doing it. So I went ahead and gave myself a buzz cut. And yes, there was a lot of activity going on in my scalp, especially in the back. The worst infestation was in the back of my head. There was even a mound about the size of a fingernail, or a pinky fingernail, in the back of my head that it was, like I said, elevated, a mound. And in the middle, it had, to describe the symptoms, like a wax substance coming out of it, a wax purple-like substance coming out of it. Then around it was like red in color. And I had some other red spots too in the back of my head, and also in the front, and we had some other spots of activity. But it wasn't until it spread to the visible areas of my face that I caught on to that something was wrong. And to be sure, I could feel for a long time, I could run my hand through my hair and feel that there was something like a mound back there. It felt like a pimple. I thought it was a pimple when it was oozing. I said, well, it's a pimple. The immune system will take care of it. It's out of sight. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't itch. Not really. So I left it alone and until it came out in front. And then I started, I got to do something about this and turn into a monster. So I went to a doctor a few months in. I was trying to do different things. Immediately after doing the paperclip thing, I started attacking it or treating it with two things, which was initially, well, I'm just going to say what worked. The thing that worked for me best was baking soda. Baking soda made into a paste and applied to the skin. I tried lots of different things. I can make a list and go through what worked and what didn't, especially what didn't work. So some things did work, but there were downsides to it. But I want to focus on what worked and getting this thing under control. Basically, like I said, baking soda mixed with DMSO. DMSO I've used throughout with everything that I put on my skin. I made a lot of changes to my diet, improved my diet, but I won't go into the diet part. So the baking soda, you get a paste and you make it, not a paste, you make it into a paste. It's hard to get the right substance, the right uh, water with mixture because it's very easy to make it too watery or too thick. But continue on. Now I want to focus on the diagnosis at this point. When I went to the doctor, and the doctor took a look at my skin and he said, "Oh, okay, that's seborrheic dermatitis." Right? He prescribed me a cream. It was turned out to be an antifungal cream, and initially I did not use the cream. I put it aside. I put a little bit on, but not much, not consistently. I put it aside. I kept using the baking soda and other things that seemed to be working. Another thing that worked was lemon juice. I put like just drench my face and head in lemon juice, and it seemed to put the symptoms on hold, but it didn't cure it. And also the problem with lemon juice is that it did sting my skin over time. It dried the skin and kind of stung it. And you have to be like stiff when you have it on your head and stuff. I was looking for a solution that didn't take so much time, that was easy to use, that was not hard to prepare, that was effective. And it was hard to find that solution. I also tried apple cider vinegar in the beginning because I had read that apple cider vinegar was antifungal. So I tried it. I put a little bit on my face, but I didn't like it. Whether it worked or not, I couldn't tell because I didn't use it very much. I just put a little bit once or twice, just a few times. I did not like the smell. It smelled horrible. I mean, I felt like a skunk. So I put that aside. And um, so one day or a few weeks after I visited the doctor and he gave me the cream contained cletrimazole, or cletrimazole. I think that's what you call it. You'll know what I'm talking about if you know about this stuff. Cletrimazole cream. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try the cream. So for like a week, I stopped all the other treatments. I just put the cream, like lathered on good. He had to gave me a big tube for like a week. I just went with it. And then after the week, once the tube was done, I evaluated my symptoms. They had gotten worse. The cream did not work at all. From the time I started to finish the tube, symptoms only got worse. So the cream did not work. Cletrimazole did not work. So I went back using my other stuff. I also was using sodium chloride, also known as MMS, Miracle Mineral Solution. I use that a lot, especially for spot treatment, but I won't go into that for the sake of length. I could make a separate video on MMS, applied topically, also used orally. It was effective. MMS did work, or sodium chloride did work with a T, not chloride, but chloride. It did work. It was effective, but it was hard to use, and um, you had to be very careful with it. But it did work. It was hard to prepare it too. Not hard, but there was a certain preparation involved, and you had to be careful. And over time, I learned how to use it, especially for spot treatment. Um, but again, it was somewhat involved and time consuming. If you use um, sodium chloride, you have to really focus on it. You can't play around with that stuff. And I was busy. When I got sick, it was timing, unfortunate timing because at that time and throughout till today, like the past year, I was very, very busy. The last few months, I have not been so busy, but I was just swamped with work and all kinds of stuff to do. Just like my schedule did not have a lot of room to give, so it was hard to devote time to trying to study the skin condition, trying to treat it and the treatments. It was hard to find the time. So I didn't have the luxury of just putting my life on hold and focusing on this. So I wanted to keep working, just do the base just enough to keep this under control or to keep it somewhat in the realm of being cured. In the time that I got sick till now, there's only been about a month's time out of 12 months that has passed that my skin was bad enough that I couldn't go out. And half of that time was because of the treatments that I did. I basically had burns on my face because of the stuff that I was doing with the paperclip and a few times I used the sodium chloride MMS incorrectly, such that I produced serious burns on my face. And also garlic. I was testing out garlic, and the first time I used garlic, I applied it in chunks, and I applied it for several hours on my different spots on my face. Serious burns. I mean, just almost as bad as sodium chloride if used incorrectly. So eventually I got better. I got better at using garlic. And for the sake of brevity, I won't go into that. Maybe I can make a different video. about how to prepare garlic and sodium chloride for topical treatment. I also started eating garlic. But getting back to so the antifungal cream, clemizole, did not work. Later on, I bought another cream, antifungal cream, because I thought it was a fungal infection called ketoconazole or ketoconazole cream. Did work. I bought a tube. That is a prescription cream. It's antifungal. So I went to to Mexico nearby. I don't live too far from Mexico. So I went, and while there I bought cream. It's over the ketoconazole cream. It's over the counter in Mexico. In the United States, you need a prescription, although you can get it in a shampoo form, Nizoral, but that's in a shampoo form. It's a 1%. The cream that you get without all that shampoo stuff for the hair, and it's 2%. And I was able to put DMSO on it. I did eventually get Nizoral, but I wasn't going to put DMSO on the Nizoral because it has the stuff for the hair. But when I got the ketoconazole cream, it did work. It was reducing my symptoms. I could tell from the time I started using the cream, and I went throughout. I went all out with the cream. I said, okay, I'm gonna use this cream every day, slather it on good until it finished. And in that time, my symptoms did diminish. Didn't go away completely, but they were definitely decreasing. But I ran out of the tube. Didn't want to go back to Tijuana. So I got the Nizoral, but I didn't go all out with the Nizoral because it has ketoconazole, but it's got all this other stuff too. That's for the hair. I don't have hair any buzz cut. This is for the skin. I was putting on the skin along with other things. I didn't go all out with Nizoral the way I did with the ketoconazole cream. I was using other things at the time. Right in the morning I put Nizoral, and then at nighttime I put like baking soda or tree tea oil. Probably I should mention because I'm running at a time constraint. People are gonna stop watching the video. I want to say that eventually the diagnosis that I came to was Demodex mites. I don't know if I mentioned this already. I hope I did. So Demodex mites. Eventually I came to believe that it was Demodex mites, and I've been treating it for like 4 days as Demodex. And yeah, the symptoms are definitely receding. They're receding quickly because I'm specifically treating it as Demodex. And I think I have the right diagnosis because the last 2 days my skin is looking very good. You look at my face, it looks pretty much normal, which is like 4 days ago before I started on the Demodex. I was still having outbreaks, still having problems. Okay, so tree tea oil. From the start, I tried tree tea oil. I did not find it to be effective. I knew about tree tea oil and I knew about Demodex mites that live on your eyelids because I had Demodex mite infection on the eyelids that were causing styes like 10 years ago. And I think at the time I did use tree tea oil on it. So I knew about the tree tea oil and the Demodex, but from the start, even when I thought it was a warts, I was using tree tea oil and also fungus. They say tree tea oil is antifungal. But I did not find tree tea oil to be effective. It seemed to kind of hold the symptoms in place, but it didn't recede the symptoms. I've used it a lot because I like the smell and it was easy to use. You could use tree tea oil and get on with your life. You didn't have to like be stuck, like, oh, I have this on my face. No, it was easy. Tree tea oil, you can move around, do whatever. The smell wasn't so bad. I rather liked the smell. It was easy to apply, easy to get, no preparation involved. But it wasn't very effective. And I was using tree tea oil with DMSO. At one point, I even put like 50% tree tea oil, 50% DMSO treatment, and I did that and I put it on my skin. But when I did 50-50, the skin began to swell. It was like swelling. Not terrible, but yeah, you could tell that the skin was basically swelling. But if you put tree tea oil by itself, it wasn't swelling. Put a tree tea oil with a little DMSO, didn't swell. But again, it was not a cure. May have helped a little bit, but it wasn't curing me. A few days ago, I was planning to go back to the doctor. About a week ago, I said, when I go at this condition, when I attack it with baking soda, especially garlic and MMS, I tried other things too, a lot of other things, um, but those are the ones I'm mentioning because those are the ones that I found work. And I can make a log video about things I tried to not work. So those things, I said, when I attacked the condition with these three things, baking soda, MMS, garlic juice, I would chop up the garlic, get the juice out, and then put it on the skin that didn't burn, and it seemed to have some effect. So when I go at it daily, the symptoms would recede, but then I would stop. Days would go by, and the symptoms would come back. But so I was gonna make an appointment with a doctor to try to get it better. I never got a formal diagnosis of what this was. I self-diagnosed. I said, oh, he gave me a fungal cream. It's probably fungal. And I was reading all about fungal stuff. I was watching videos about fungal acne, like hours and hours for weeks and months studying fungal infections and people, reporting their struggles with fungal acne. And in that time, nobody mentioned Demodex mite infections. That could be a possibility of skin rosacea or whatever, acne. Until last week, for the first 6 months, I thought it was warts or so. Then I thought it was okay, fungus. But then last week, I saw a video of a doctor who said a lot of people who have these skin troubles have mite infestations, Demodex mites, living on their skin, their scalp and stuff, and body. And that rang a bell with me because, first of all, I had never considered this, and I never heard this take before about the connection with mites. And 10 years ago, I had a bout with styes in my eye, which evidently were caused, and I knew this back then when I did the research on styes, were caused the styes, Demodex mites living in the eyelashes. And the styes that I was getting were serious. I struggled for many weeks trying to clear the styes, and eventually both eyes were getting infected with styes. And I was using alcohol, going at it with hydrogen peroxide, swabs, and cotton Q-tips, and even needles. I would stab them with needles, and I was getting desperate. I was almost ready to go see the doctor, get professional treatment for the styes, and I was trying different things. It's been 10 years, so I don't remember exactly what I tried, but one thing that I tried that fixed it, as far as the styes are concerned, I don't know if I used tree oil or not back then, but especially a lot of alcohol I was using, Epsom salt. I put Epsom salt, I made an Epsom salt bath on my eye. I drenched the whole area with Epsom salt, both eyes, and immediately fluid came out of my eyelids or eyelid, and that cured my styes. And I kept applying it for several days after. Much time after, I kept applying Epsom salt baths into my eyelid and the area of the eye to keep it from coming back, to get rid of it for good. By it, I mean the styes. For the most part, I was successful. They never really came back. But the fact remains that 10 years ago, I had blepharitis, which is, styes in the eyes caused by Demodex mite in the eyes and the eyelid, the eyelashes, really. So hearing that Demodex mites can also, populate the skin and the scalp and other parts of the body, not just the eyelashes, I said, oh, well, certainly that's very likely what's happening to me because I had the eyelash thing, Demodex thing 10 years ago, and it caused a major problem 10 years ago. So, bingo, that's probably, I have that too. If it's not just fungus, then definitely Demodex is living on my face and scalp. So I did research. In other cases, yeah, there were many cases. Once I actually Googled, oh, Demodex, on the face and scalp. Yeah, there were many cases of people who had skin problems. It was Demodex mites. So knowing this, I did some more research, watched some videos, and basically people who dealt with Demodex mites successfully cured themselves. They recommended products and products and products. Some of these products I already had. One thing they said, or one person said that cured themselves, said one of their go-to cures was baking soda, among other things. That made sense because that's something that worked for me. That's the main thing that worked along with MMS. But baking soda was my main go-to thing for this. So she said, "Oh, baking soda works. Other things too." And the Demodex mites apparently don't like alkaline things, or what is it, alkaline? I think. So baking soda is very alkalinic, and it makes sense too that when I drenched lemon juice on my head and face, that's I felt that was working. Lemon juice was working, but I didn't like the stinging of it on my skin, and left the skin sticky and felt weird. Couldn't really do much stuff. Same thing with baking soda. But baking soda was much more effective. Lemon juice simply kind of held the symptoms in place. Baking soda wiped it out. Kind of wiped it out. Kind of really reduced the symptoms. So I was on the right track with baking soda. I read that apple cider vinegar was effective against the Demodex mites. So I had a new bottle of apple cider vinegar. I should have brought it with me so I can demonstrate. So I brought it. I had in my cupboard this brand of apple cider vinegar, and I brought it out and applied it on my face, and I was impressed with this particular brand because it did not have a strong smell. You could barely smell it at all. And this has the mother. This is greenest apple cider vinegar with the mother unfiltered. So I was very impressed with this because it did not have a terrible smell. You could barely smell it. So I applied it. Now I found it easy to apply, no preparation. You could do things. You could do normal things with the apple cider vinegar on your face. It did not really cause skin, didn't really dry out the skin like I thought it would. You could leave it all day and keep reapplying it. It didn't bother the skin. And I felt it working. I saw the symptoms, a reduction in the symptoms. I mixed it with DMSO to be sure. And then at night, I also had read that sulfur soap works on the Demodex mite. So I did have a bar of soap, sulfur soap, that I acquired months ago that I was using once in a while. I would use it, but I didn't really keep up with the sulfur soap because I didn't like the smell. I didn't like that, you had to lather it up and put on your face, and it's like thick and had this thick film. If you put that stuff on, you can't really go anywhere. Then you have to take it off. It's pretty involved using the sulfur soaps. That's why I didn't really use it too much. Although I did feel it was effective when I used it, I did feel that it was working. But again, I don't have a lot of free time to be just sitting around with lather on my face. I gotta get to work. I got stuff to do. That's why I didn't really go with the sulfur soap. And other things were working too. Although I did use it at times. So I brought out the sulfur soap now that the Demodex don't like sulfur soap or sulfur. So I used the sulfur at nighttime. So I was using this during the day, the apple cider vinegar, the sulfur soap at night. And then I realized that I was looking into bug products, anti-Demodex products, Invectormin, and Vermectin, whatever it's called, Perithin, these names, right? But then I realized that in my cupboard I had a mosquito or bug repellent wipes in packets. And I had a bunch of them, like 30 of them. So I went and brought them out, and the active ingredient was DEET, D-E-T, DEET. So I researched how DEET works, and I read an article that DEET does not kill mosquitoes because that's the main purpose that people buy this stuff for. It said that the mosquitoes are simply repelled by it, but it doesn't kill them. So I said, well, if DEET doesn't kill, well, it's not gonna be useful for me. You know, we need something that kills, not just repels. So I kind of put it away. But then I read that I was reading other people's experiences with Demodex. Some people were trying DEET, whether it worked or not, they didn't say, but they tried it. So, so I revisited the DEET about a few days later, and I came across a study that DEET does kill Demodex. There was a scientific study made with Demodex effectiveness versus DEET, and compared to other paraffin, other ingredient, paraffin, something like that. And the study found that DEET was effective in killing Demodex. So I said, okay, bingo. And it's not harmful to human beings. Evidently, it's put in a wipe for you to put on your skin. It can't be bad for your skin. I mean, it shouldn't be. So I brought out the DEET. So after doing the sulfur soap thing, then I put DEET on my, everywhere, the DEET wipe. The first 2 days, it's been just like 4 days since I started. The first 2 days, or really 3 days, I think. The first 2 days that I used DEET, along with the apple cider vinegar and sulfur soap, I did not use DMSO because I wanted to take it easy. But on the third day, last night, I did put DMSO, a little bit of DMSO on the DEET. And I'll show you how I've been using the DMSO and these things, using this stuff, these little bottles that you buy. You can get these anywhere, not anywhere, but you can get these easily. I label them. These are drop bottles because they have the dropper, right? Very easy to use. I mean, it makes things much more easier, right? Oops, drop something. But anyway, so that's been helping. And I've been using shot glasses with Q-tips as an applier to the skin. So I use this, drop it into the shot glass and do my mix, and then the Q-tip onto the face or whatever swab. Okay, so the DEET. So last night I did use the DEET with DMSO. From the first day that I started treating my condition with idea of Demodex, specifically I've been using, like I said, the apple cider vinegar mixed with DMSO, sulfur soap by itself, and then DEET with the DMSO. From the 3 days ago that I started till now, every day in the morning my skin has improved. Today it's looking very good. Absolutely, it's working. Okay, so I'll leave you with that.